Today we are going to begin a brand new series, Testing Your Tactics. We are not testing tactics from YouTube creators or professional tactic creators. We are testing you, the viewers' tactics. And hopefully by the end of this series, we will have found the best tactic for FM24. And today we are going to be starting the series with a very attacking tactic. And we have set the bar quite high with this. Let's go and see how we got on. Let's go and kick some balls. Hello and welcome back to FM with Old Man Phil, and if you are a brand new visitor, I'm Phil and welcome to the channel. And today, as I said, we are going to be starting a brand new series and we are going to be testing your tactics. Not professional tactic creators, not YouTube creators' tactics, but viewers' tactics. And we're going to try and find by the end of the season what are the viewers' best tactic of FM24. Anyone can submit a tactic, but if we are flooded out, I will try and find a method of drawing the tactics out. I would love to do them all. Maybe it's not going to be possible, but we'll just see how many entries we get and how successful this becomes. If you want to submit your tactic for testing, then there is an email address on the channel page, and just send your tactic off with why you think it should be featured, and we'll try and get it on one of the videos that we upload. Each tactic that is submitted will be rated against a very strict scoring method, and it will be tried with 3 Premier League clubs, the Premier League obviously being the most difficult league in the game, and we will test it with Manchester City, test it with a mid-table team, Brighton, and test it also with Luton. We will then score it against the position that the team finishes, the goals that are scored, the total points that are accumulated, goals against that are conceded, and then how many goals the top scorer manages to score. So each one of the saves will be scored along those lines. I will just load up the tactics and then go on holiday. If I get sacked at some point during the season, the total points just becomes 30 points. And if any team other than Manchester City manages to win the FA Cup or the Carabao Cup, then they will get a bonus of 20 points. And so the first tactic we're going to look at today was submitted by Andy Taylor, who comes from the UK. Andy is a channel member, and I want to thank every single channel member for supporting the channel. You guys provide me with the inspiration to keep making videos. And so if you are brand new to the channel, why not hit that subscribe button and click the bell? And so you'll be updated when we upload future videos in this series and any of the other videos that we also upload. And while you're here, hit that like button, because it's likes and comments that help the algorithm to push the video out to people who don't even know we exist yet. Andy submitted this tactic in response to the Notts County live stream, where people are invited to submit a transfer window. And Andy was the only one who actually changed the tactic, and so immediately I was very drawn to it. And it was a very attacking tactic, and we have just begun the live stream using that particular tactic. I get kittens every time I actually play this system. Defensively, it's not very solid. But we should now go and have a look at what Andy has submitted. The first tactic in the series, testing your tactics. Let's go and take a look. So Andy's attacking 3-1-4-2 Messiah is a very attacking tactic. And if you would like to try this out, you can download it via the link that I've left in the description below. Try it out and see if you can tweak it and make it even better than it was. And he has actually set the bar quite high, because surprisingly this tactic has done extremely well. And it is made up really of a 3-5-2. You have 3 at the back with 5 in midfield and 2 up top. And it is, as you can see, an attacking formation, and in possession playing fairly wide. It has overlap left and right, pass into space. Passing directness is shorter with a higher tempo. Low crosses, nothing else in terms of the final third, and dribbling run at defence and creative freedom be more expressive. It is very attacking, and in transition, counter press and counter, take short kicks, and then out of possession it has a high press or high line of engagement and a much higher defensive line. Trigger press much more often, preventing short goalkeeper distribution and get stuck in. This is a very aggressive, very attacking system. And And one of the concerns for me is the space that might be available down the flanks for teams if they counter-attack when we lose possession. And I expect Manchester City to do quite well, and that is exactly what they did. But they didn't win the title. But let's go and see how they got on and how many points they got. And so if we go to the competitions page, you can see that Manchester City actually finished in second. And in terms of the league, I guess, given how attacking that system is and how defensively vulnerable it is, it was a good season. And they played 38 games, won 27, drew 5 and lost 6. And that's about normal for Manchester City, I think. They'd had good times and they had their bad times, losing 6 of their games. Tottenham finished eventually as top of the league, which was quite a surprise. And if we look at the team stats, then we can see that the most goals were scored by Manchester City. They scored 108 goals in the Premier League. The goals conceded, Manchester City actually conceded quite a few with 44. And the top scorer, of course, was going to be Erling Haaland, who got 39 goals in his 32 appearances. He did miss 6 games due to injury. And finally, the total number of points that Manchester City achieved during the season was 86. Manchester City were knocked out in the quarter-final of the UEFA Champions League by Borussia Dortmund. They won the UEFA Super Cup, they won the FA Cup, and were knocked out in the third round of the Carabao Cup by Everton, and were runners-up in the Community Shield to Arsenal. And as I suspected, a lot of goals scored. There were some crazy results in here. And it started off 6-1s and 7, 6-3s, another 5-3, another 6-1, 4-1, 5-0, 5-1, 5-0, 6-0. There were a lot of goals scored, but they also conceded a lot of goals. And as I suspected, there are gaps behind those wingers, which the opposition were able to exploit. But overall, given the amount of attacking that was done, I would say that this was a very successful tactic, and Manchester City scored 88 out of 100. Moving on to Brighton, and you can see that this also was not a bad season given how attacking this system is. And Brighton did in the Premier League finish in 11th. They played 38 games, won 13 games, drew 10 and lost 15. They had a total of 49 points. However, they did pick up 20 bonus points because they won the Emirates FA Cup, and they were also runners-up in the Carabao Cup. So a good attacking system for Brighton did pay off for them. They were predicted and expected to finish mid-table, and that is what they did. And if we go to the stats and we look at the team overview, most goals were scored by Manchester City, but Brighton came in second place, scoring 80 goals. But goals conceded, Manchester City were also top, but Brighton, in terms of goal conceded, were right down at the bottom, and they conceded 84 goals. And so this affected their score a great deal at the end of the day. And in terms of the schedule, again, there were some very good performances, actually. And from December all the way through to possibly the middle of February, they were on course for a top 4 finish. But unfortunately, they fell away, and the results at the end of the season. And I think we can say this was reflected for all teams. The results at the end of the season were pretty poor, which meant that they slipped down to 11th place. I guess because of the high intensity, you have to be very careful of things like stamina and whether or not they have the endurance to last the whole season. This is a very high intensity tactic. And so Brighton's score out of 100 was 70. Again, it's not a bad score, and for a mid-table team, if you can get 70 points with your tactic, then you've done extremely well. And so moving on to Luton, you can see that there was a little bit of a problem with Luton. But although I got sacked, it was quite interesting because we didn't get sacked until after the final game of the season. And so actually, because we won 5-0, I was very surprised that we actually did get sacked. Luton did get relegated, and the board were not happy with the run of form that they had been on in the second half of the season and decided to terminate my contract. But they did not have to forfeit the 30 points as a result of completing the entire season before the sacking took place. As you can see, it was a pretty poor performance by Luton. They were never going to cope with an attacking tactic of this nature. But January was a pretty good month for them. And it did look like at January and February they might survive. But unfortunately, they didn't. They played 38, they won 10, drew 6 and lost 22. It was a pretty dismal attempt, but I wasn't expecting too much of them. In terms of the team's stats and goals scored, they finished in 12th. They did score 55 goals, which was quite good. It wasn't a bad effort, but unfortunately, they conceded a great deal of goals, and they were bottom of the league, conceding 91. Only a few more than Brighton, but 91 is a lot of goals to be conceded. The top goal scorer for Luton was, in fact, Carlton Morris, who finished in joint second, scoring 18 goals. He also did quite well, considering that they finished in 18th in the table. But it wasn't the greatest of performances by this Luton team. And overall, they only managed to score a total of 45 points. And so overall, Andy's attacking 3-1-4-2 Messiah tactic did particularly well, I thought, for a tactic that is so very attacking. It gave me kittens every time I watched them play in this method, but all teams scored a lot of goals and all teams conceded a lot of goals too. If you want exciting football and lots of goals, this could be the kind of tactic that you need to use. I would say that if you have a very good team, then it's fun to play with. But if you don't have the greatest of teams and you are going to be struggling down at the bottom of the table, I would suggest perhaps becoming a little bit more defensive in terms of your tactic, coming down perhaps to a more balanced approach, and also not counter-pressing but hold your shape. I would suggest, if you are perhaps not the greatest of team, that there are tweaks that you could make to this tactic to make it a little bit better. And so we totaled up the scores and divided it by 3, and Andy's final result, with the 20 bonus points that he achieved with Brighton for winning the FA Cup, was 74 out of 100. 74 across all 3 teams out of 100 is extremely good, and Andy has set the bar quite high. That's not to say that it can't be beaten. And if you do want to try and beat that score of 74 out of 100, then submit your tactic, your special tactic, to the email address that you can find on the channel page, and explain to me why you think your tactic is worthy of being featured. And we will look forward to featuring your tactic in one of the upcoming episodes. And that's it for this episode. And don't forget, we have included Andy's tactic in the description below, so feel free to play in your own saves with this tactic. And if you are brand new to the channel and you like FM content, then why not hit that subscribe button, click the bell, so you'll be updated when we upload future videos. And all that remains to be said now is thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Submit your tactics and I'm looking forward to seeing them. And stay safe, take care, and we'll see you in the next one, when we will test your tactic.